This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. With 8 months since the Davis administration came to office, a number of legal and legislative matters have arisen, namely the Citizenship Bill and certain environmental matters. Attorney General Senator Ryan Pinder spoke with the press this afternoon and addressed these issues. Our Cale Campbell has more in this report.
The government is aggressively moving ahead with a number of legislative matters. Attorney General Senator Ryan Pinder, on the sidelines of the launch for community-based legal aid project, told reporters that the Citizenship Bill draft should see passage by the end of the summer, adding that law reform has been working feverishly.
Well, it all depends on the demands of law reform, right? I mean, I think that we have advanced it before the budget, before we had to shift to provide more focus on the bills that are being debated by the Prime Minister starting today. But I don't see it taking more than a couple months to actually finalized. We are looking at what was done before, but as you would know, that dealt with nationalization, that dealt with asylum, that dealt with the Department of Immigration in general, and so we're pulling it apart and then doing the reforms to that. So we do have a basis of the legislation in place. We're just pulling it apart from the master piece of legislation. So within 2 or 3 months, we should be able to have that final before cabinet.
As for a number of other national legal matters, the AG also spoke to some environmental legislation. Having received technical advice from environmental legal experts on the amendment of the Biological Resources Act, passed last year by the Minister administration, AG Pinder says the Department of Planning and Protection is actively holding meetings with the Attorney General's office to bring such amendments forward to make research easier to conduct while still preserving the rights it's intended to preserve.
The challenge is that when it was put in place, there was not an adequate regime to have research only based and then research for commercialization, and that's really the concern, that any research for commercialization, the Bahamas should be a financial beneficiary of that because it is research being conducted in our waters with our natural resources. When it was put in place, there wasn't a proper stream for research only, for educational research, such as the Island School and PIMS and those activities that are outside of the commercial scope. And so those are the elements we've been working on. It's rather technical, but needless to say that we have some recommended amendments to the legislation.
Now, Senator Pinder also revealed that matters concerning that gas tanker that sank Christmas Eve last year, as a result of the 160-foot vessel being rear-ended by Utopia 4, piercing the stern area of the ship, is still being evaluated to determine which party is responsible. The tanker was carrying gasoline and liquid propane gas. The Utopia 4 is owned by multi-millionaire businessman J.R. Ridinger.
I recently spoke to the Minister of Transport, who has, as you would know, portfolio responsibility of the Port Department, and they are still reviewing the liability components of that to be able to advise us as the lawyers for the government where the liability in their professional and technical opinion lies, and so we can then initiate whatever fines or enforcement proceedings we have to do. So that evaluation is still in the Port Department, and they will give us the technical advice so we'd be able to proceed.
As for cruise ship dumpings, Senator Pinder says the DEPP is currently engaged with a number of cruise ships while assessing damages done. He added that the Bahamas is committed to enforcing environmental laws and will not tolerate the overpollution of the country's waters by cruise ships. For JCN News, I'm Cale Campbell.
Government is committed to constructing a solar field in New Providence by the first part of next year. This field will be capable of producing 60 megawatts electricity. Prime Minister Philip Davis making this announcement on Tuesday. Now, while the Prime Minister told reporters that he could not go into too much details due to the issues still being sorted, he says 100 acres of Crown land have been identified where solar panels could be put.
The company is a major company out of the United States who's involved in solar throughout the United States, and we have sat with them and have come to some agreement in principle. They have identified the land, and within the next 2 weeks or so, we should have a firm agreement in place that will allow for the construction and implementation of the solar to be tied into the BEC grid, BPL grid.
As this initiative is another step forward for the Bahamas reducing its carbon footprint, when asked about the renewal of Challenger Energy Group CEG's exploration license, Prime Minister Davis says there are no active licenses to consider at this moment. He says his administration will assess the extent of oil deposits in the Bahamas using the data exchanged for carbon credits. He reassures Bahamians that in the event oil is discovered in the Bahamas, they will not look into extracting it.
Having been involved as counsel for a number of oil companies over the many years that I've been practicing, I have now identified what I will do in respect to the prospect of oil being in our jurisdiction. You'd have heard me speak when the cry about drilling was in the air, and there was much controversy over the fact of drilling. My response was always, look, don't be concerned about drilling. Be concerned about exploitation, because drilling is only to discover whether or not you have oil. The fact that you have oil doesn't necessarily mean that you have to extract the oil.
There are plans to move away from fossil fuels, according to Prime Minister Davis. However, it will be difficult moving completely independent from fossil fuels, according to experts. The Prime Minister says a team is currently visiting Acklins, Crooked Island, and Mayaguana to assess government buildings for solar panels, hoping to have all Family Island government buildings running on solar within the next 2 to 3 years. Well, a gift to the government from electric car retailer Easy Car Sales of electric cars adds not only to the government's fleet of vehicles, but paves the way in allowing the Bahamas to reduce its carbon footprint, and this correlates with the Davis administration's mandate of participating in the global carbon market. The Prime Minister explains that this gifting is important in lowering greenhouse gas emissions and important to the Bahamas' future, noting that 70% of the Bahamas landmass barely being above sea level.
If the temperature rises to 2%, that is being predicted, most of our islands would be underwater. And so I've stopped talking about initiatives, and we're just doing and acting on initiatives. And so today, as was mentioned by Easy Car, we are integrating into our government's fleets, electric cars, to demonstrate and to lead the way in reducing our carbon footprints.
Sean Grisette, Easy Car Sales Director of Sales and Marketing, applauding the government's intentions to reduce its carbon footprint while acknowledging that the reduction in duty fee for electric car charges allows for more charging stations to be installed all over the country, further contributing to the reduction of the Bahamas' carbon footprint.
Taxis, tourists, business fleets, as well as the public, and also the government fleet as well, can use these supercharged networks that can charge an EV in just minutes. And so this duty reduction on EV chargers is big. And of course, the raising of the ceiling from 50,000 to 70,000 on electric cars, this will encourage businesses to now purchase bigger vehicles, electric trucks, and hopefully electric jitneys. One day we can see electric jitneys driving up and down the streets of Nassau. And so we're very thankful for the government for taking this first step. Indeed, it's just a first step. And of course, we hope to see even more changes as we implement these new energy vehicles.
Last month, Prime Minister Davis tabled the Climate Change and Carbon Market Initiatives Bill, which aims to provide supervisory framework for the trade of carbon credits. Under the energy policy section of the Progressive Liberal Party's Blueprint for Change, proposes to commit the Bahamas to a minimum reliance of 30% renewable energy. Shifting gears, police here in the capital seeking the public's assistance in finding 2 men having issued wanted person posters. You will see on your screen Sonny Gabriel, who is wanted for attempted murder. 25-year-old Gabriel is described as dark brown complexion, medium build. However, his height is unknown at this time. His last known address, according to police, is Nassau Village. Meantime, Edson Dorvalus is wanted for stealing. He is described as being medium brown in complexion, height unknown, last known address number 18 Lulumba Lane. Both men are wanted by the Criminal Investigation Department, and anyone with information on either of their whereabouts is asked to contact CID at 502-9991 or 2, or you can call Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Active COVID-19 cases have shot up to 905 in the country as the Ministry of Health and Wellness confirms 46 new COVID infections on Monday. 145 RT-PCR tests were completed on the same day, and out of that figure, 41 new cases were confirmed on New Providence, 14 of them with a travel history, 4 on Grand Bahama, 1 resident with a travel history, and 1 case with location pending. Currently, 34,759 cases have been confirmed in the Bahamas since the start of the COVID pandemic back in 2020. 13 people are in hospital being treated for COVID-19, all of them moderately ill. No new deaths were reported. That figure stands at 810. 23 people were reported recovered on Monday. And Kendrick Thompson, University of the Bahamas multi-event specialist, breaking the national record in the decathlon on Monday at the Jacksonville Athletics Club, Jacksonville, combined event qualifier. Thompson breaking the record after amassing a total of 7,788 points over the course of the 2-day 10-discipline event. The athlete previously held the old record set in April of this year at the Miami Hurricane Invitational, winning every event in the competition and amassing a total of 7,762 points. He is quoted as saying, "I am really happy with the record, and I know Coach is happy for me. We were looking at going for 8,000 points to give us a chance to qualify for World Championships. I fell short, but I know how to rebound and go after the goal." Well, that's what's making news this evening. From all of us here at JCN News, I'm Lissy Bastian. Have a wonderful Wednesday, everyone.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.